A single candle, a wooden door. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that makes your skin prickle and your heart race. We had gathered here, in this old, creaky house, drawn by curiosity and a sense of adventure. The candle flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced on the wooden floor, as if they had a life of their own. Our names whispered in the dark, the midnight game. It was more than just a game. It was a test of courage, a challenge to face our deepest fears. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if the darkness itself was calling out to us, beckoning us to join in its sinister dance. We were warned. It's not a game. It's a ritual that had been passed down through generations, shrouded in mystery and fear. The warnings were clear. Once you start, there's no turning back. The stakes were high, and the consequences potentially dire. But we were young, reckless, and eager to prove ourselves. A doorway. Something wants to play. We were ready, or so we thought. The door creaked open, revealing a darkness so deep it seemed to swallow the light. We stepped forward, hearts pounding, breaths shallow. The air grew colder, and an unsettling feeling settled over us, like a heavy, invisible cloak.
The rules are simple, deceptively so. Light the candle, write your name, and knock on the door. But simplicity can be deceiving. Each step felt like a descent into the unknown, a journey into a world where the line between reality and nightmare blurred. Don't extinguish the candle, don't invite them in. These were the rules we clung to, our lifeline in the darkness. The candle's flame was our only protection, a fragile barrier between us and whatever lurked in the shadows. We knew that if the flame went out, we would be at the mercy of the unknown. Easy, right? We stood in a circle, the candle casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. The shadows seemed to move with a will of their own, twisting and contorting into shapes that defied explanation. We held our breath, each of us silently praying that the flame would hold. Our laughter felt nervous, forced. We were playing with fire and we knew it. The tension was palpable, a living, breathing entity that wrapped itself around us, squeezing tighter with each passing second. We tried to laugh it off, to pretend that we weren't scared, but the truth was we were terrified. The game had begun, and there was no turning back.
The house was old. It creaked and groaned around us. The air grew heavy, thick with anticipation.
We turned off the lights. Darkness swallowed us whole. The single candle flame became our only solace.
A shiver ran down my spine. We were really doing this. The air felt different, charged, electric. A wave of dizziness washed over me. Or was it dread?
We huddled closer, drawing strength from each other's fear. Silence descended. Heavy, absolute, each tick of the clock echoed like a drumbeat in the stillness. We waited, watched, listened. For what, we didn't know.
Then the first whisper, a soft sigh, barely audible. We froze, every sense on high alert. Was it the wind, the house settling, or something else?
My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic drum in the silence.
The minutes crawled by, each one an eternity. The sound of the clock was deafening in the silence, each tick echoing like a hammer striking an anvil. Time seemed to stretch and bend, making every second feel like a lifetime. We were trapped in this moment, unable to escape the relentless march of time. The shadows seemed to dance more vividly now, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes. They moved with a life of their own, as if mocking our fear. The flickering light cast long, sinister figures that seemed to reach out towards us, their movements hypnotic and terrifying. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, feeding off our anxiety. The air grew colder, a bone-chilling cold that seemed to seep into our very bones. Our breath hung in the air like ghostly apparitions, each exhale a reminder of the frigid reality we faced. The cold was relentless, wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket, making it hard to think, hard to move. It was as if the very atmosphere was conspiring against us, amplifying our dread.
We took turns reciting the chant, our voices shaky at first, then gaining strength. The words felt foreign on our tongues, ancient and powerful. With each repetition, the chant seemed to take on a life of its own, resonating in the room and within us. It was a desperate attempt to ward off the encroaching darkness, to find some semblance of control in the chaos. We were in it now. There was a palpable sense of commitment, a silent agreement that we had crossed a line. The weight of our decision hung heavy in the air, a mix of fear and determination. We stood together, bound by our shared fate, knowing that whatever came next, we would face it as one. There was no turning back. The path behind us was shrouded in darkness, and the way forward was uncertain. Doubt gnawed at the edges of our resolve, but we knew that retreat was not an option. We had made our choice, and now we had to see it through, no matter the cost.
A wave of nausea washed over me. My hand trembled as I held the candle, the flame flickering wildly. What had we done? The question echoed in my mind, a relentless torment. The candlelight cast eerie shadows on our faces, highlighting the fear in our eyes. We were bound by our actions, and the reality of our situation was sinking in. The first hour was only the beginning, and the true test of our resolve was yet to come.
The whispers grew louder, closer.
They seemed to come from all around us, surrounding us, taunting us.
They spoke our names, their voices raspy, filled with malice.
We clung to each other, our eyes darting around the room, searching for the source of the voices.
But there was nothing there, nothing but the shadows and the whispers.
And the growing feeling that we were not alone. The candle flame sputtered, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. It danced precariously, threatening to extinguish. The room was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional crackle of the flame. Each flicker seemed to bring the shadows to life, creating monstrous shapes that loomed over us. The flame was our beacon, our only source of light in the oppressive darkness that surrounded us.
Panic welled up inside me. We needed that flame. It was our only protection. Without it, we would be swallowed by the darkness. My heart raced as I watched the flames struggle to stay alive. Every second felt like an eternity. The fear was almost paralyzing, but I knew we had to stay strong. We couldn't let the darkness win. The room felt colder, and the shadows seemed to close in on us, feeding off our fear.
We chanted louder, our voices a desperate plea against the encroaching darkness. The words were ancient, passed down through generations, meant to ward off the evil that thrived in the shadows. Our voices echoed in the small room, creating a symphony of hope and desperation. The chanting was our only weapon, a fragile shield against the malevolent forces that sought to consume us. We had to believe in its power, even as doubt crept into our minds.
The flame steadied, but it was weaker now, as if something were draining its energy. It flickered less violently, but its light was dimmer, casting even more grotesque shadows. It was as if the darkness was fighting back, trying to snuff out our last hope. We could feel the energy being sapped from the room, leaving us feeling drained and vulnerable. The flame's struggle mirrored our own, a battle against an unseen enemy.
The air grew thick, heavy with a presence we couldn't see but could definitely feel. It was as if the darkness had a life of its own, pressing down on us, making it hard to breathe. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. We could sense the malevolent force watching us, waiting for the moment to strike. It was a suffocating feeling, one that made every hair on our bodies stand on end. We were not alone in that room.
The tension was palpable, and we knew we had to remain vigilant. Every sound, every movement was amplified in the oppressive silence. We couldn't afford to let our guard down, not even for a second. The flame was our lifeline, and we had to protect it at all costs. The atmosphere was charged with fear and determination. We were in a battle for our very souls, and the outcome was far from certain. But we had to hold on, to fight with every ounce of strength we had left.
A cold spot settled over us, a chilling presence in the room.
The temperature plummeted.
Our breath came out in ragged gasps, fogging the air in front of us. We were surrounded.
The whispers intensified, swirling around us like a vortex of fear.
Something touched my shoulder, a fleeting, icy touch that sent shivers down my spine.
I could feel my sanity slipping away, replaced by primal terror.
This was real, too real.
Dawn broke. A sliver of light pierced through the darkness, chasing away the shadows.
The whispers faded, replaced by the chirping of birds outside. We were safe. For now.
Exhaustion claimed us.
We collapsed on the floor, our bodies trembling, our minds reeling from the experience.
The candle, now just a stub of wax, flickered one last time and died.
Silence descended, but this time, it was a welcome silence. The game was over.
We survived the night, but the experience left its mark.
The whispers, the shadows, the feeling of dread. They lingered in the back of our minds, a constant reminder of what we had encountered.
We don't talk about that night much.
Some things are better left buried in the darkness.
But sometimes, when the lights are low and the wind howls outside, I can still hear them. The whispers, calling my name.
The midnight game? A game? No. A terrifying glimpse into something ancient and evil. A doorway that should never be opened.
We learned our lesson. We will never play again.
The darkness is real.
And some things are best left undisturbed.
Heed my warning. Avoid the temptation. Don't play the game. You might not be as lucky as we were.